just 2 points really. I'd be interested, you've sort of reassured me the traditional Christian vote in America didn't see Donald Trump as one of them, so I was reassured by that. Does that therefore mean that Mike Pence personally has he's seen as their person much more, and whether that's a fair characterisation? And I'm also interested, I was part of the, every year there's a delegation that goes from here to the US cross-party, the 10 days round one of the state capitals, also Washington, and spending some time with a congressman or woman. I was out in Oklahoma for a few days, so that was a totally different experience. But one thing that interested me was that how it was seen very much in sort of polarised terms, as you described, Republican and Democrat, on ethical issues. Now here, we tend to go much more for what we call conscience votes and the free votes.
Yes.
And I'd be interested in your take on that, because I can remember, I think I can say this, because in the last administration, when I was in the whip's office, we had a bit of a discussion about the whipping of equal marriage.
Yes. Right.
And I'm personally very much in favour.
Yeah.
But I think it was an interesting discussion around that, because there were some voices in the media at the time that basically, this has to be a certain way, this should definitely be a whip vote. And one thing I slightly feel with this, because at the end of the day on conscience issues, we almost always end up with a free vote anyway. Is it sometimes the mood music around it, rather than what actually happens, that has a detrimental effect too?
Yes. So the second part of your question just got me thinking about a whole bunch of stuff. So the first part was very good. You're going to have to remind me, because you got my brain spinning. So let me start with the very last point you made, which is I was meeting with a centrist. I was meeting with a think tank that helped move centrist Democrats to a pro-equality, pro-same-sex marriage position. And now this think tank is working to help figure out what it means to enact the marriage decision in a way that solidifies LGBT rights, which necessarily means what is the place of religious communities in that. She did this person did sort of a listening tour with religious conservatives, and she said, and I was able to finish her sentence. She said, Mike, I was so surprised that the thing that seemed to most upset these folks was not the Supreme Court decision itself, was not the president's switch on the issue, was not the Department of Justice's brief in Windsor, was not the Department of Justice's and the Obama administration's refusal to defend the Defense of Marriage Act. The thing that most upset people, and again, I was able to finish the sentence, and I said, was when the White House was lit up like a rainbow on the night of the Supreme Court decision. And she said, yes, how did you know? And it's because that was the music. The message that sent was, now that this decision has been made, this is our country and not yours anymore. That the White House was going to be lit up to affirm the rightness of the decision that was made and the fact that you're on the losing side now. Which, if you support the decision, right, there were big rallies outside the White House. It feels really good to be affirmed in that way, and especially if you're a minority that was deeply and is deeply discriminated against. It feels phenomenal to finally get the recognition from your government that had been so long explicitly denied to you. And so, right, so all that, the music sounds sweet to a whole bunch of people. It sounds like rubbing salt in the wound to others. And so I say that just to affirm the fact that, right, that the important part of that or there are a lot of sides of that story that are important for those on the left to understand. One thread I pull out is that it wasn't the policy issue, it wasn't the policy stance that was most frustrating, that most riled up the other side. It was the fact that it was advanced not with language of inclusion, not with language of, look, this was the decision that was best for the country, but we're still going to find a way to live together. You're still as much a part of the American family as everybody else. Politics is about sometimes you win, sometimes it wasn't that. It was we're going to use the primary symbol of American power, the White House. Maybe some people would say the Capitol building, but we're going to use a primary symbol of American power and legitimacy to celebrate a decision that the country is split 50-50 on at the time of the decision. So that's what I'll say on that. Could you just remind me of the very first?
Or just about Mike Pence?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Perfect. So yes, there were a lot of, in hindsight, effective, non-conventional steps that the Trump campaign took. The two conventional steps that the Trump campaign took that were brilliant and important was releasing a list of names of potential Supreme Court nominees during the campaign. Because that was what, in a campaign that was largely emotive on both sides, and sort of loosey-goosey, and Trump would say one thing indicating he felt one way, and then the next day he'd say something else. And when I would meet with evangelicals or hear evangelicals talk, all they do is lift up the names of, like it was something tangible to hold on to. And then the second thing was the selection of Mike Pence. Gave religious conservatives many a measure of confidence that Trump was not going to deviate too broadly from the Republican Party, particularly from the goals of social conservatives. I think we're seeing Trump deviating pretty broadly on issues like trade, on issues like national security from the Republican Party, but on social conservatives issues, he's so far, and there are a lot of social conservatives who were never Trumpers who have had to, who have said like they're glad it's happening, but like they're having to admit, well, like Trump hasn't betrayed social conservatives yet, 6 weeks into his presidency. And so that was important. I do just want to say this. Usually when I talk to conservative evangelical groups, I emphasize this. What I'm about to say, when I talk to Democrats and progressive groups, I emphasize the way I laid out the 2016 election. And what I emphasize to evangelicals is there needs to be an examination and uprooting of the safe harbors that remain in conservative American religious life for racism, xenophobia, misogyny, all of which played strong roles in the campaign. So that evangelicals are the only religious community that support the travel ban that Trump put in place. So I don't want you to hear me saying, gosh, evangelicals are just so great, and if Hillary had had just told them she was going to fix poverty, that would have swung a bunch of evangelicals' votes. There are deep cultural issues affecting broad swaths of conservative, religious, white America that would not have been solved by just doing a little more faith outreach. My argument is not that Hillary could have won a majority of white evangelicals. My argument is that you swing a few points of an electorate that counts for 26% of the electorate, and that amounts to millions of votes. So in Michigan, if Hillary Clinton had won the same percentage of the white evangelical vote that Barack Obama won in 2012, which again, he was the first president in American history to support gay marriage. The Catholic bishops were accusing him of waging a war on religion. So like Barack Obama's 2012 numbers were not like, you know, like a high point, like they did not represent what should be an unreachable point for a Democrat. He had significant issues to deal with. If Hillary Clinton would have achieved what Barack Obama achieved percentage point wise with white evangelicals in Michigan, where Hillary lost by 19,000 votes, she would have won an additional 145,000 votes. I mean, making up the margin of Trump's victory 7 times over. That's just, you could tell the same story of massive pickup just among that constituency in Ohio, in Michigan, in Wisconsin, et cetera, et cetera. And so, specifically on abortion, it accounted for a swing vote, right? The liberal criticism of which has some merit, but which is sometimes overstated, but is not without any founding whatsoever, is that it's easier to take a position on an issue that a lot of folks who take a position will never have to deal with the consequences of the policy that they support. If I was speaking for liberals, they would say, they say they're voting on abortion, but really they're voting on the capital gains tax and on their wallets. There's some of that. Anecdotally, and just from the fact of I saw the effects Barack Obama's outreach had in 2008 and 2012, millions of religious people stayed home or had their vote affected by the far left goalpost moving of the Clinton campaign and the Democratic Party in 2016. So I'm not trying to tell a simple story. I'm just trying to lay out some factors that played a role in what was a tight election.